All right. Good evening, everyone. So it's always a bit challenging when you connect online to see who is behind the screen, but I hope you are able to see the presentation. So I guess I will introduce myself through this presentation. I think most of you know who I am. I wanted to find some kind of topic which was interesting for both the coaches, the runners. I guess the age range is quite big. So I find it this way to get through it with some small lesson. It's a big word for small things that I have learned from my elite career and my coaching years. I want to be quite efficient in this presentation. I won't be able to talk about everything. I think it needs more than one evening. Maybe I could come back another time. So there will be a time for question. I think it's maybe the most valuable. So I will answer them at the end. Those three pictures you see, it's representing myself at a different stage of my elite career. The one on the left is with my father. I think it's still as a junior. So I'm wearing a shirt I was getting in 91 in Czech Republic, actually. Then the middle one is with our former national team coach, Peter Torresen. I think it's from World Championships 2006, something like this. And then the one on the right is me coaching the Swedish team. So I have been coaching now for 7 years. I was stopping my elite career in 2017 in Estonia. And after that, I have been coaching the Swedes for 4 years. And now I'm coaching the Finns since 2022. So basically, I'm very happy to have the chance to talk in front of Czech crew, because I would say I'm very connected to Czech Republic. Czech Republic, or actually Czechoslovakia, was one of the first countries with my parents we were visiting. So this is a map from '88. I was 9 years old. So we were traveling quite a lot to Czech Republic. For us, it was, I grew up in France. Orienteering was very, very small, and it was kind of a shock to come to your country because the quality of the maps, of course, at that time in '80s, it was a very different orienteering. I mean, you see, it was kids course at 1 to 15,000, but it was like this in '80s. And I will say one of my biggest memory in orienteering was actually in Czech Republic. It's not World Championships or anything. It's those 5 days of Bohemia '91. I was 12 years old, and it was in connection with World Championships in Czech Republic, and I was running those 5 days. This is the final stage, and I have a small video, so I'm not sure if it's going to work, but we can give it a try. It's not very long one. So that one, it was the final stage. We were in Cztyřicátý, and it's me on top of the podium. Actually, in my room nowadays, I don't keep so much memories from my elite career, but I have just one medal left. It's this one you see on the podium. I see it every day because it was, if I will have to say, when my dream of becoming a world champion was starting, it was that day. And actually, I should never have won this race, because I want to show you this part. So it's me who was drawing the route in a little bit weird way. But when we were coming to the third last control, I was on fourth place. Those in front of me were quite much in front, but when we came to the second last control, those two guys, I think one of them was Petr Losman, they all went full speed around the field. And me, I was standing here, I said, but maybe I can go straight. I don't see why. Of course, it looked like open field, and it was a bit weird. Of course, the other runners were complaining at finish why I have been cutting the field and things like this. And it's basically the first lesson. I think it's something which is very important in every type of sport, to know the rules of your sport. So I wanted to start with this small story. In orienteering, we have a lot of rules, and it's something I'm doing daily in my coaching work to read those documents, and also to make sure our runners in Finland know the rules. I think you have a very good system also in Czech Republic to share those rules. So those are very important. So I wanted to start a little bit with this. But my connection to Czech Republic is not only that one, actually. So as I said, I was born in France in 79. So at the moment, I'm soon 45 years old. I have been starting very early orienteering. But what I'm mostly proud in my elite career is, like all my biggest achievement, I have done them in France, because I moved to Sweden. Now I live in Sweden, in Uppsala. When I was 33 years old, I was already at least 10 times world champion. So it's something I'm pretty proud of, like to have done all my elite career in France. I didn't do it alone. I got a lot of help, mostly from my father on the left side of the picture. But when I had to talk about my elite career, I have always seen this, living in France, as a chance and as a challenge, because of course orienteering in 80s, 90s in France was quite a small sport. It's still a pretty small sport, but the chance the French have, it's like they have quite fantastic terrains. And to know a little bit Czech Republic, I would say you also have a lot of those nice terrains and different type that you don't always find in Scandinavia. So, and why I'm very thankful to Czech Orienteering as a while, but mostly to the Czech map makers, because in 80s, 90s, a lot of them were traveling to France to make good maps, which were what we were really missing in France. And this one, it's called Saint-Jean-sur-les-Mieux. It's a map from 90s. I think it was a team from Zdeněk who came. It was only 45 minutes from my home, and it was the closest terrains you can have from Scandinavia. We spent countless hours in this terrain. The map quality was excellent. Of course, at the time, it was no LiDAR, not this kind of mapping, but it was, for us, the French, it was a total game changer. And I want also to mention this map. So it's in south part of France. For us, it was a dream. So it was also a Czech mapping team coming to this place. Anyway, I think the French were not able to produce a map from this type of area in 90s. And those in this map alone has contributed a lot to my career as elite orienter. This was we spent really hours and hours in this map, and I'm very thankful for this. So that's basically my lesson 2. You don't need to live in Scandinavia to become the best. And I had this small picture of the green, the grass being always greener at another place. So of course, for me, I have been coaching the Swedes. Now I'm coaching the Finns. So I'm quite comfortable to say this, because I have got my achievement by being French, and I'm very proud of this. And I'm always supporting orienteering outside Scandinavia. even if it's them who are paying my salary, because I feel like the Scandinavians, they really behave a bit like they own this sport, but I think it's possible to beat them by living outside Scandinavia. And I really believe it's possible, as you have shown in the past with Dana or some others, to be absolutely the best in the world living in Czech Republic. But of course, in orienteering, it's very important to be able to travel. It doesn't mean to travel abroad, but it's very easy to be the king of your garden, and you need to have this experience in orienteering. It's so important to experience a lot of terrains. And when I was preparing this lecture this afternoon, I look at this map. So this was the first stage of those 5 days in '91. And I find it quite funny because I was drawing my routes, and then it was a small comment, so I can translate it in English. So the force control at that time, I think we had just 6 control in this course, so it was a bit different type of orienteering. But I wrote force control, misunderstood, the cross, I believe it was a rootstock. In reality, it was huts. A small cottage or build up with so it's what I mean, like for me it was totally something new. Usually in France, Black Cross what was most of the time rootstock, and I got very surprised. So this is of course men 11 course, so it's but it's really what I mean by traveling. You never got surprised anymore nowadays. When I'm traveling to a new terrains, it's very seldom, but it's always important why those training camp in preparation of big races are so important to get this experience. Then this, it has always been my motto, both as a runner and as a coach. It's really the most important part of this lecture tonight. It's all about preparation. I think this is something I have used a lot in my preparation. Like Muhammad Ali saying, like he was always winning his fight a lot before the fight, actually. So I won't be able to explain all the way I was training, and I think it's not the most interesting, but still you have this link. I will make the presentation available afterward. During 1 full year, it was mostly at the end of my career, I wrote day by day everything I was doing. So I think for those who are a little bit interested, I think it's some stuff. It's still available online. So now tonight I will just get some small point. As I said, in this training log, it's the way I was training. It was working pretty well for myself. There are some stuff you can copy, some stuff which will be difficult to copy because those years I was already living in Uppsala, so it's a bit different environment. But what's guaranteed, so not only one way to reach the top. We are all different. We all react differently to the trainings. But now I will talk a little bit more what I have experienced as a coach, because since I'm starting to coach, I'm not trying to copy what I have been doing as a runner, but I'm trying to talk to the person I have in front. And of course, the first years as a coach has been very frustrating because I have felt always the process was quite slow. When you have someone in front of you, like it's something which is quite demanding, at least for me, who want the things to be fixed quite quick. So it's very important, both as an athlete and as a coach, to realize it will take time. And most of the time, it's not a 1% work. So it means like you will face during your career a lot of people who will help you, and it's really something important to be open-minded and to be able to discuss with a lot of people who can help you, because they will make this process a little bit quicker if you are able to be bit open, and that's why I'm not so much believing in very strong one-to-one coaches. I think it's good to have ideas from different people. Of course, at the end, it's always the athletes who should make the final decision. But it's important in my early career. For example, I had different coaches. My father was the most important person at start. But then I had a lot of discussion with Kalev and Rasti coaches, this Scandinavian club I was running from, but also all the people more or less I was training with. Then this is quite an important one, because I mean, as long as you haven't got a big success, you are in trouble. It's a little bit what I'm facing with the Finnish national team. They are struggling a little bit to get top result in continuity. So it means they have a lot of doubts. They don't know exactly what's working for them. And as long as you have not been winning 2-3 times, it means you don't know exactly what makes the difference. So it's a big challenge. I have experienced it a lot in Sweden as a coach. Some people having a big talent, winning once, but not knowing exactly why they have been succeeding. So it's hard to reproduce. And us as a coach, it's where we have the biggest role. It's to make some deep analysis, and I will talk a little bit about it later on, to highlight what was working. This, of course, I'm also a strong believer of this, like making the runner in charge of the project as early as possible. If I take Tove Alexanderson, or if I take myself as a runner, we had lot of independence, but we learn it. So it means like we had people helping at the beginning, but little by little, we were more and more in charge. And I think it's the responsibility of the coaches to help people to be independent, because then it becomes very powerful. Like during my years as a runner, I was setting 90% of my training camps, the courses of my training camp myself. So it means during a full year, I was setting between 90 to 100 courses per year just for myself. And it's, of course, I was full-time professional, so I had time for this. But when you can be that specific, it's very powerful. So that's why I will recommend any juniors to start to learn OCAD or mappers or whatever, and also start doing maps. Not gigantic maps, because it's quite time-consuming, but it's very important. Like during those years, I think, especially in Czech Republic, you have probably the best mappers in the world. It's very important, like as a juniors, to learn to draw the terrains, and this fastens the process for the future. It's it might sound a little bit strange when I write don't be over creative, but it's something I have a little bit realized the last years as a coach. I mean, I guess a lot of people listening at this also grew up in 80s, 90s. We had no internet, and I think no OCAD as well. So it was a very different, you have seen the map in the opening, it was quite different. So orienteering is evolving all the time. I think in 20 years it will be different from now. So it's this, we can't stop it, and it's good for many things. I mean, laser curving, it's fantastic, and the maps are better and better all the time. But there are also a downside. I think we see it every day in the normal life, like the power of internet. And I think in elite sport, it's very negative as well. Like, I mean, every 6 months, I see some of my runners trying something new. they have reached from one top athletes who start to get top result in running or things like this. So there are a lot of trends, and it will continue like this the next 10 years, that's for sure, because, and it's very challenging as a coach to discuss nowadays with athletes, because they will always find something on internet to some kind validate their method. So that's why I think at some point you should also stick to the basics. There are a lot of basics. I think a lot of coaches have experience of this. And also I'm writing disconnect from social media, because like it's a big difference. Me, it was really the start. Internet, I had my home page and this kind of things, but it's consuming a lot of time. The training times I include as well in those social media, Strava and this kind of stuff, because I don't consider it as a training log, even though some people believe it's the same stuff. So this, it's a big danger. I will talk a little bit more about it when we talk about competition. So basically, the only things which is more or less a guarantee, and I want to highlight, it's why I put it in red. It has been a lot of studies about this, and this you can find quite a clear connection between training volume and result. Of course, if we start to discuss about training volume, we can put a lot of stuff. It's endless discussion. We have also some overtraining symptom and this kind of things. So I don't want to spend the whole night on this kind of stuff. We could have another lecture about only this topic. I just want to show this because I have shown it 1 million of time in my lecture. It's my own training volume over the years. You have my training log from the last years of my elite career. So basically at the end of my elite career, I was training between 800 hours and 1,000 hours per year. I was full-time professional. What's very important for me, it has always been the percent of orienteering. Once again, those years, I was not living in Scandinavia. I was living in France, in Saint-Etienne. So I always had some small travel to the maps. So it means, and up to 2003, I was a student. So I was studying as well. What we can see from those numbers, it's like, of course, it's increasing all the time. Those years between 2024s, they are always ultra important, because you switch from juniors to seniors, and it's where from top 5 you get top 30. So me, it was no difference, and it's where like the consistency, and we can see a little bit. I'm starting to increase in 2001 and 2002. It's where I'm starting to increase as well the volume. Always a lot of quality, and like no break. We could go in between, but very important in this period to have some consistency. This, it's what I'm calling the entry ticket. Because a lot of people want to go to party, but they don't have the entry ticket. So this, it's what really gives you the possibility to enjoy the party. Of course, once again, it's numbers. It means nothing. 1 hour with someone can be completely different with 1 hour with someone else. We'll see in the next slide. But still, this, it's science proven. Usually, the training volume is quite clearly connected to the result. My fourth lessons, because of course it's everyone is interested by this, how you can fasten the process, because we see it all the time. If we take Casper Fosser, he is already almost world champion when he's junior. So there are some people who are able to fasten the process. And this, as a coach, it's where I have seen the biggest difference. Like the honesty, in the analysis. Like I have runners in Finland. I'm quite sure in 3 years they will be the same type of persons, because the quality of the analysis is not good enough. So they always pinpoint the wrong point. So this, it's quite sad. We, of course, we are a full team. In our team, we have a nutritionist, we have a physio, we have mental trainers. So it's a lot of people around. But it's, even though we try to have a strategy for every runners, it's not that easy to change it. So as a juniors, it's something I value very much. I had this picture because I find it not so long time ago, 1 or 2 years. I find it quite funny, but it's I have been coaching a lot of lion in my teams those last 6 years. But they believe they were a lion, but not all the time I was seeing lions in them. So I want to explain a little bit what I mean with this. Basically, the first sentence, it's what my father was saying every day. You don't need to be 30 to have some experience. And this is still very true. And basically, it's always this stuff. Never make the same mistake twice, which is just a pure theory, because the reality is like you will always do compass mistakes, this kind of things, bit different setting, but it's very hard to not make the same mistake twice. But the most important is after training a race to be able to answer to the right question. And this, I think, what I see as a coach, the quality of the analysis is from 0 to 10, depending of the runner. And this is what makes the whole difference at the end. So I will explain a little bit how I was doing it myself. There are some people who do it even better than me. I get at the end of the year from some Finnish runners some 20 pages of analysis. So there are people who do the work properly. But me, what I wanted to have, it's what I call checkpoints during the season. I become world champion. I was for the first time 24 years old in 2003. I won the next year. So after this, when you have been winning twice, of course, anything else than winning is more or less losing. So it means the pressure I had during my elite career, of course I wanted it and I find it fun, was extremely high. So I wanted to have self-confidence and not fake, because I didn't want to miss the target. So what does it mean? Basically, every winter, when I was starting the winter, I wanted to become world champion in the summer. So I had this big cake in front of me. And sometimes this situation was very stressful. Like I have never been a very nervous person. But when I was thinking about work, I said, fuck, yeah, I need to win. Daniel Hubman is improving. Olaf Lundanes is super strong. So I had, of course, like everyone, some kind of anxiety about this, because I really wanted to be the best. And I was seeing my walk as a cake. I couldn't eat it all in one time. So what I did, basically, I was splitting my season in different parts. And this, I think it's something I have tried to put in the Swedish team, in the Finnish team. It's not so many people who are doing it the way I was doing it. Maybe because the setting is a bit different. Like in Scandinavia, you have a lot of snow. Me, what I wanted to have, it's like start my winter preparation usually 1st November, the first when I was 25, 26, and the season became a little bit longer and I had the need of a longer break. So I was starting mostly 1st of December, January. a very good training block. Most of the time in snow-free area. Even when I moved to Scandinavia, I was traveling abroad again to Spain, always 2 weeks in January. My start of the season was always Portugal meeting. We see it in February. It's those small blocks in 2007. Yeah. So this, I took it very seriously. So what does it mean? It means, like, of course, I was beating everyone because me, I had spent a lot of time doing already orienteering. I was a little bit more ready than the others. Still, I had a big volume, so I was not especially fresh, but I was ready to prepare. Too often, I find people in competition who are not ready to compete, who you don't know if they compete, they prepare, they train. Me, when I was competing, I was competing. So it means I wanted to have a result at the end and to compare. So the boost I got in terms of confidence at this Portugal meeting was following me the whole season. And then, very important, was like right after Portugal meeting, I was making my own analysis. What was going right? What was going wrong? What will be the goal for the next period? And basically, I had these checkpoints every month or every 2 months to validate a little bit the previous training period. And this was bringing me to the World Cup races, knowing exactly what I need to perform. Now, if I talk about those I know quite well now, like, for example, the Finns, I feel they enter the World Cup races with too many questions. And then it's, if you want to perform, you have to have this self-confidence. And for me, it was really the way to handle my stress, like to really have test stuff in competition. So basically, it's what I wanted to explain about those checkpoints. So this way, my work goal, this big cake, was not that big anymore, because when I was starting World Championships week, I felt like it was a continuity of what I had done before, and I was just, okay, Bob, I will do it like I did Portugal meeting in February. And most of the time, it was working fine. The second sentence, it's the quote, it's from Peter Thoresen when he was, so for those who don't know him, he's a multiple world champion from Norway, was coaching the French team for some years, and I like the sentence quite much. So what does it mean? For me, it has always been 2 phases, which are quite important, actually. Right after the race, and then what I call facts check. Right after the race. So this, it's almost impossible nowadays, because especially in international races, I mean, there is arena speakers, so already at the last control, you know basically what's your position. With the speed, in some training camp in Spain, I did some small experiment. Like, I think it was a middle distance training. Basically, I was asking them right at the finish how they felt about their performance and things like this, how it went basically in the forest, what every coach is doing, without showing them any result, anything from the training. And then they were telling me, and at the end, I think, if I remember, I asked them, out of 10, what's your rate? Most of them, 6, 7, 8. And then once they've seen, I show them the result, completely different feeling. So, and I think in competition, it's a lot about like this. And you need always to disconnect a little bit the result. Of course, it's the main goal and it's what you want to achieve. But in terms of progress, the performance is very important, and the feelings even more. This picture on the right side, it's some years ago, so I find it this afternoon. It was World Championships 2015 in Scotland, the middle distance. So this is right after the finish line. We see some branches around my neck. So this, it's basically the replay. I don't know if it's going to work. So 2 controls to go. I'm basically same time as Daniel. And I will spend 1 or 2 minutes in this small box, not having a good feeling for this area. So I think I'm 7 at the end. So I went from 1st to 7 in men 8 control. I pass the finish line. I want to kill the course setter, the map maker, whoever. Like I have been preparing 1 year for this race. If I see the course setter or the map maker, I kill him like this. Bon, I have some experience. It's already I'm already 35 years old, so I take a deep breath. I don't rush on the next person right away. But inside, I'm destroyed. Like it's the race of my year. I have spent 1 year preparing it. I feel devastated. You need to behave. I think it's quite important, especially on a role like me. I try to still keep not smiling, but I know people are watching me, and I think the elite sportsman should behave as good as possible, as long as possible. When I come back to my room, it's completely different. Then it's what I'm... the second part is starting after the race, the balance. Sometimes you win, you don't really deserve it. Sometimes, like this day, I feel like shit, but probably I'm not that bad as well. So it's always some kind of balance to find, and which has always been very powerful for me, and where I want to push the coaches to think about what they are saying after the race to the runners. Me, I'm trying to be very passive at the finish line, because like the runners, they come in international competition. I'm the first one after the finish line. When the runners are coming, I'm very defensive, because I feel they are too emotional, the runners. They come with a lot of emotion, and I want to let them, it's not the time for a deep analyze. I want to let them shallow their joy or their frustration. But the frustration is highly important for me. I think it's specific to me, but I have seen, for example, Tove or this kind of people acting, and they were not so different from me. If I take Tove at World Championships this summer after the long distance, I could see it was a lot of frustration. She had some struggles to smile, of course, because it's a very emotional process. And if you are able to use those emotions to bring something out of it, it's absolutely a game changer. So it's a World Championships in Denmark, 2006. I had been winning the 3 last middle distance. And then I did a small mistake. The others were also running pretty strong. I'm 4th. The podium, it's the last place I want to be at the moment. We can see I'm not so joyful, but it's something I really try to push. It's extremely hard with my runners from Finland. Like usually they finish the race the next seconds, they're at the accommodation. It's super important, if you are not in the podium, to be at the prize ceremony, to just watch the others, because a lot of emotion is getting through your body, your mind at this moment, and it's something you can really use to make a change in the future if you really want to be on top. So it's something I really advise every people who want to be on top one day, don't skip the podium, even if you are not on it, because it's part of the process, of course, to shallow the frustration. Then it's more like for the emotional part, like firing your motivation. Then there is this part where the coaches have a very important role, but as always, the one in charge, it's the athletes. I mean, I have seen people all alone who did a fantastic work doing the analysis. So once again, you don't need a team of 20 persons around you to be on top. So it's what I'm calling fact check. Once again, I grew up in 90s. No GPS watches, nothing, no live tracking. Mostly you have seen the first maps. We were drawing a lot by hand. So this, it's Oregon 2013. So at that time, it was already some GPS. A very bad habit, which has changed by those live logs, Garmin watches, etc. is like less and less people are drawing their routes. This, for me, it's a fatal mistake, because when it's very important, I will show it in the next slide, to have the GPS information, but by not drawing it, you miss a lot of the information. We can see, for example, one first control to second control, I start to draw under the red line, and then I realize, no, I was not exactly there. So by doing this, you recall a lot of feelings during the race, how you felt mentally, and this kind of things. If you do it by straight with the GPS, you miss a lot of this process. So for the youngsters, it's something I really recommend. Of course, thereafter, wind split, today we run live logs, very important. We can see one of the training with the Swedish team when we were preparing for WOC 2019. We see Elin Monson and Alva Olsson having exactly the same time with a very different routes. Of course, you learn a lot during this process. Follow-up videos, it's always the most powerful tools. We can see here when we were focusing on the map reading frequency of Tove Alexanderson in Spain. So this, when the runners see themselves in action, it makes a big difference. Even though you don't know, you are not in the mind, so you don't know what she's catching when she reads the map, etc. Because like there are a lot of other stuff, like it's really what I want to emphasize. What a runner is saying, what a runner is feeling, it's his or her vision. It's not the reality. And you as a coach, it's always important to come back with facts. So it comes from training volumes. It's a discussion I had with some runner in 2019 who was telling me, like, he had never been training that much. Well, by comparing, it was quite obvious it was not reality. So it's important to come with facts. It's also a runner who was complaining like she is always the slowest at the first control in sprint. So it's some kind of facts, and it was not true. Another runner who was saying like she was always slow in uphill, which also was not a matter of fact. So as a coach, you always face the reality or the self-belief. So it's very important to use those tools to get a clear picture and not work on something which is not correct. Notebook. This is also something I was mentioning Strava. I'm a little bit tired of Strava, which I consider a little bit as more as a social media than a training tool. So basically, I see less and less people with this pen and notebook after the training. So this it's from my own, the last one, 2017 in Barbate. So it was middle of the winter. I was collecting some stuff from the trainings, always in effective ways, but you have seen this process, having some checkpoints, things like this, knowing the direction. And I find it extremely hard to have this process if you don't write down stuff. I know, like some people don't do it at all. If I take Tove Alexanderson, she has never write a single stuff on a map or on a book, and it works pretty well. But I will say, when I see a runner with a notebook, usually I see it as a good thing. I feel like it's someone who has direction, and it's once again, keep it simple. You don't need to write 6 hours after every training. So I think it's okay to not have all the answers at some point. And it's not on Strava. You will make the best analyze in the world. And then the last small point, how I was after those checkpoints, if I was in struggle, I had this triangle of fitness. So basically, it was, for me, the performance has always been the result of food, rest, and training. Equally important. So I was putting as much energy on those 3 parameters. And nowadays, or not nowadays, but most of the time, people put all their focus in training. It's one of the parameters. So this, when I was in difficulty, when I was starting to struggle, I was questioning those 3 parts. Do I rest enough? Do I do the work the way I should do? The food, the quality of the food, this kind of stuff. And of course, the training. So this, it was, it's where you need to be honest in this part, but this was helping me all the time to structure a little bit the analyze. The last lesson, and then we can go through the question if there are some. Are you still able to smile? So this, it's a big issue, because when you invest a lot in your goal and you are dedicated, you can feel some stress about it. It's quite a natural feeling. So I call it or the art of competing. So this, it's a little bit key topic for me. First, I feel like what I see as a little bit as a coach, it's like, and we come back to this internet and social media, this kind of stuff. Take care of what you can control. So I put this quote. It's not the best football coach in the whole world. But when I was reading this in 2007, 2008, from this coach, it was really talking to me. Basically, he wanted to have result. He wanted to win with his team all the time, and he could feel some pressure about it. But all the speculation around his team and this kind of stuff, he couldn't handle them. And I felt many times during my elite career, it was about the same. And in orienteering, it's just crazy. We are like quite a technical sport. So there are so much talk about the mapping style. We see it all the time with sprint maps. If we take European champs in Italy, it was a crazy discussion about the amount of people in the street, so the terrain, the weathers. But basically, you can't do so much about this, all those stuff. And at the end, if you make the list of the things you can really make a difference with, this list is very short. And it's a lot about the attitude. So this, it's something I was using quite a lot in my lecture. It was from 2007 in Ukraine, the last model event. So during the whole season, I have been winning all the World Cup race before this World Championships. So I can feel some pressure because like if I don't win the walk race, then it won't be a good season. So I really need to refocus on myself, to really be in my bubble, no matter what, because of course, like I can't control everything. I mean, I try to prepare as well as I can physically, but well, it's always hard to. I didn't have that many walk race where it was my absolute best race physically in the year. So you should accept this kind of stuff, being a little bit ready. But this inner talk, pushing yourself like, okay, I will be ready. I know what I have to do is very important. And to protect myself from this, I will really, what I'm calling, enter the bubble. So it means like I won't read so much stuff on internet the weeks before, because like whatever you read, it's affecting you. Like nowadays, I have the Instagram account of the federation, the Finnish federation, because I'm posting some stuff for the federation. When you read some stuff, of course, it's affecting you all the time in a positive, negative ways. So just because I was really focused on this mission, you try to shut down. You can judge its kind of weakness, to not have this flexibility, but I don't want to take the risk of being disturbed. For example, when I was at World Championships, I was turning off my phone 24 hours before my race. Why? Because in this period, I know some people, my friends, my family, my father, my brother, will get, of course, excited by the race, which I try to make as normal as possible, and will be some kind of, not emotional, but they believe they will be nice with me and things like this. But somehow they will disturb me from this mission of really being focused on what I can control. So just to avoid this kind of stuff, I was very happy to read the message afterward. I just like was not using my phone. And then this was, I have talked a lot about it. Like people, of course, during the winter, there is never a big stress when World Championships is 9 months in France. Everyone has big plan, big stuff. But last week, the last day, it's a little bit harder to fall in sleep for everyone. This is reality. And for me, my routine was like always to compare. So I had a little bit this extreme picture, because sometimes I believe I'm so stressed, like I'm really having a lot of pressure and things like this. And then I wanted to compare. Sometimes I was comparing to some football players who had a lot more media's attention. But my routines was always to look like a war movie in the last week. Sometimes it was the day before, but it didn't matter so much. But I wanted to compare what I was experiencing now to what was really the real fear and this kind of things. And this was, in 1 second, I was putting everything in perspective. Still, I had this big cake to eat. And this was continuing the D-Day. Like, and I think it's something I see the runner I'm coaching have a little bit of difficulties. You are good if you are in the moment. So it means like when you start your race, you are not at the last control. If we take a relay race, if we take a knockout sprint, for example, if you talk with a runner, 90% of people will talk about the 2 last control as before the race. But before this, there is a long process, and it's the same during every moment of the day. And it's really one skill which is important to be aware and to help. It's like to be aware of the small succession of action, and this is the timetable I had for my last walk race. So everything when I go to the bus, breakfast, everything is timed. I have a couple of technical points I want to focus on it, and then my warm-up, it's really like where the pressure is disappearing, because I have this small all those small routines which help me to get through my race. So this has always been quite important. And for the juniors, I think it's something you can discuss with coaches, and you will get my presentation afterward. It was my warm-up routine, starting 38 minutes before the race, always some flexibility, and sometimes I mess up with my start time, so I had just 5 minutes warm-up and it was still working. But some small stuff like this, you can read it later on, so we can save a little bit of time. And the last stuff, for me, the most important in especially at World Championships. I mean, I was having a lot of fun at trainings. A lot of my best memories are from training camps. But I was very serious as well in camps. Like I knew the importance of the preparation. So it means I was trying to make sure like the trainings had been such a good quality, and it's a little bit what I have tried to achieve as a young coach. It's to make the camps attractive enough for the runners that they really want to join and they feel like it's a positive environment. So I think it's something we put a lot of energy, so they can enter those competitions with a smile. And this, for me, it has always been quite important quote to remember, like to be able to smile at the start. Then it meant the preparation had been good, and I had to do my stuff. Then if I had it, great. If it was not that day, I will create another chance later on. So basically, 5 rules. There are like maybe 1,000 more, but for tonight, it's a little bit what I wanted to say. So thanks for listening. It was 1 hour, so a bit long. And now I can, I think the plan was to check the, I can check if we have some question in the chat, but I don't think so. I don't see them. So maybe it will come, or maybe there is no question. No, I can't. Yeah, perfect. It's a very challenging question, because whatever I will answer can be challenged by some in some other ways. Me, I feel it's very individual. It depends when you have been starting, what kind of environment you have, what kind of supportive environment you have. Are your parents orienters? This, it's I will say, if I see my kid who is 6 years old now, the oldest one, and my daughter who is a lot younger, they have different competitive appetites. But if I take myself, I was competing at World Championships when I was 17 years old, and Tove Alexanderson the same way. So it means, and we had those forever discussion in the Swedish team. Should we pick juniors to compete or not? Are they ready? Me in the Finnish team, when I'm having the responsibility, this year we have took 2 juniors. I felt it was a fantastic experience for them. Of course, they were a bit older than the age you are mentioning, but Evalina Oyanao, the sister of Oli, was only 17 years old when she was running the World Cup in Norway this year. A lot of support around. We really communicate, and the goal is to get as many information as early as possible. No judgment on the result. I mean, she was the fourth to start the race. She ended up 23, I think, 23rd. If she would have started among the last, I think she could have been top 15 with the tracks. And I mean, I could really feel like it was fastening process, and she gained time. So me, I feel there is not one answer. It depends of the person. Some persons are ready. You should see, you should avoid having persons running 60 races per year. I think it's a little bit too much. I think a good number, usually it's 30, 40, but it depends so much. If you have been starting orienteering when you were 5, 6, of course, you won't wait 20 years old to compete. So me, I feel we have a sport where we can provide different setting to different people, but the coaching environment, very important to not put pressure too early. Yeah, please. Me? No. I think I did only one competition when I stopped my elite career. It was in September 2017, but I really enjoy. I'm living in Uppsala, so it's a very strong club nearby, Okoline. So I really enjoy time to time to go with the guys, either night orienteering, or I try to train every day, because in camps with the Finnish team, I like to be with the runners in forest. And sometimes when I have time, I try to run quite fast in forest, but mostly for myself. I was very happy to end when I was 38 years old, and I don't have this big motivation to compete anymore. Like I don't think it's something very new to do it. It will be not as enjoyable as during my elite career. So I enjoy being in forest on a nice course, setting good courses, being in forest, but competing is not a big interest anymore. Yeah, a lot, because it's I haven't mentioned in my presentation, but and it's something I should say a bit about it, especially for those who are around 20, 21, 22. A lot of questions about their possibility. It's for me, I really had 2 elite career. I would say, like I have been getting, of course, good result at G-Walk, but always a little bit on a stressy way. And then I relaxed a little bit more after some point, because I realized like I really enjoy being in camps, being in nice places with my friends. Always been training with a group. I think it's something I really believe as an individual, but also as a coach. I think the power of the group is very big. So it's something I find. I was discussing a little bit with Eva Yornikova today about this. It's something, if I had to point one key factor for me, starting basically from zero in France, we were in 90s, we were not even close from Czech Republic in terms of performances. We always had this group culture, training together, and as a coach, now in the Finnish team, it's something I'm trying to create, because I feel it's too hard when you are alone to challenge yourself, to push yourself. So me, I can't, if I see my elite career, I can't forget my brother, of course, who was 4 years older, but also two other runners from the national team, François Gonon and Damien Renard. They didn't got the same result as me, but what's guaranteed is, like me, without them, I will not have reached this level. So this, it was very important, and like, so I really believe in the group training, and like it's something we try to create a little bit also in the Finnish team. It's not so simple because it's a culture of individual, but for me, it has always been very important, yeah. It's this, I'm very relaxed about it, because like as a runner, I was saying coach has no influence on elite career. So it was, of course, a bit straight forward. Me, I start from the one who should be good, will always find a way, meet different people, find a way through the top. So I feel like we should not make coaching bigger than it is. Like, it's a very individual process, and but of course, I should still say that it can fasten some process. Me, I have been very lucky to find some people along my way, which has helped me a lot. And I will say it's very individual. For example, in the Finnish team, we have 4 coaches for a group of 16 persons. So we split a little bit. Sometimes we move people from different. We do more follow-up. But me, I'm not the dream coach for some of them. Vroni Koenig-Salmi, who is also coaching, might fit someone better. So it's very much of connection as well. It's not everyone fit to each other's. So me, I'm very relaxed with this. Some people will think I'm the best coach in the world. Some people will think I'm the worst. And this, it's a reality. So the only things I want to say about this, what is a good coach? I feel your main role as a coach is to bring, I have the word in French, but in English, some kind of relaxing atmosphere. This, it's, I have experienced everything in my career. My father was quite straightforward, and I'm very happy he was this way, because he gave us a very strong culture. But I would say if my father was coach nowadays in today's world, he will struggle a little bit. So this said, me, I try to never be in a fight with the owner, because then it's lost for sure. So it means like you should always find a way to communicate, to still be honest. This it's very important. But you are me. I'm never on a fight with my owners. I want to show them my way of thinking will help them. So I try to convince a lot of I said lot of patience, lot of time. It's very much time consuming. Sometimes you feel we don't move 1 centimeters, but you should not take a fight. You can't win anyway, because then it's a dead end. Like the owners try to find something else, and so I think it's a lot of convincing, a lot of communication, feeling you are there with them. So yeah, I feel it's mostly about this. So trying to explain a lot. Communication. I think it's what I'm telling to Thierry all the time. My role, it's 90% of communication. I just communicate all the time. So explaining stuff, why we do stuff. It's not because you know, that the owners know. And it's yeah, communication is very important for a coach. It's challenging to answer this question. Of course, you need to find the balance. I feel it's where the coach is very powerful. And I see, for example, Veronique Nixalmi, who is coaching with me in the Finnish team. She's really good with this because of her experience. She was coaching in Swiss team, and they are very structured. This ambition, this kind of stuff, can be very well handled by coaches to see what is realistic, to set a little bit a time frame. Like it's something we try to do in the national team, but it can be made in every possible level. I think anyone who is not in the process understand before getting a medal at, let's say, World Championships, you need to be top 10 or top 6. It's very seldom you go from 30 to a medal. And I think it's when we ask them a little bit of their goals and this like this, you will be shocked. I mean, we have World Championships in Kuopio in Finland next year already, 2025. If I open the goals of, we have an online system where they need to fill up a little bit their plans, their goals, and things like this. They all have the goal to be at World Championships next year. And I mean, it's okay to dream, and I think it's a very important part of the process. But both me and Ronnie knows for half of them it's unrealistic. So it's where the coach is very important, because it's the coach who should bring you back on earth at some point when it's unrealistic. So I feel, because when you talk about ambition and things like this, most likely it will be in this frame, 17, 22 or 23 years old. So it's where the coach need to show this step-by-step approach, which is very important, and it's why we come back to the quality of the analyze. I mean, when we have a junior in the team or 21 years old in the team, you go to the World Cup, it's very challenging to see if there is some progress, because depending of the terrains, I mean, during 3-4 years, the result will be between 45 to 20, like this, going a little bit by wave. So you need this support around you to tell you, yes, you are improving, because it's where you will have the strongest doubts. And like ambition, great, very important to have this motivation, I think. But super important to have a fair evaluation. Me, I feel from what I experienced from the runners, like, no, it goes, I don't know how it is in Czech Republic, but there are people who turn the season in 1 second. It means they run the last race, small break, they start the next one. No analysis of the season, why it has been like this, has performance improved, what were the goals. So this, as a coach, I think it's a lot of coaches around there. End of the season, this analyze work is super important to canalize a little bit this ambition, this kind of stuff, seeing the process, because it won't take one day. Huh? It was first it was a shock, because I don't remember exactly, but basically it was July 8-9. I was in Estonia as a runner. The things I wanted most is to beat the Swede. And 2 weeks after, I was in the same accommodation as them, to help them as much as I could. So, of course, it was the first time I was wearing the Swedish jacket and this kind of stuff. It was a weird feeling, like, I mean, I'm loyal, so it was my employees, but I have never said, I have always seen myself as a Frenchman, and so this, it's a reality. But then you have a mission, and I have seen it just like during my elite career. So I wanted to approach this as a business. So it means a lot of preparation. I wanted to have good camps, to be very well prepared, to know what I was preparing for, and all this technical part, preparation stuff, was very easy, because it was just doing what, as I said, I was setting already a lot of courses, fixing a lot of trips. So I was always, I have always been enjoying the logistic part. So it means buying tickets, finding the best shortest trips, this kind of stuff. So this has never been a stress for me. The most challenging part is just like being patient. I think it was so much frustration, and you are in a role where you should not show it. Like one runner behave like shit. Oh, you need to behave a little bit. You can't. So this was consuming quite much energy, because like I felt like it's not the way we should do it. And sometimes also with the Swedish Federation, I felt I came from France, where we had quite a limit budget, and I wanted to, we always €10 was we were checking where it was spent to Swedish team, where I felt, especially at the beginning, it was we had no equipment for the trainings, no timing, nothing. So I felt like, okay, but this is supposed to be they call themselves the world best national team. It was not even close to the French team or the Czech team. So I felt, in terms of trainings and logistic, I felt very frustrated at the beginning, because I felt like, okay, well, we have much work to be professional, and then very quickly to realize, okay, well, I should forget everything from my elite career, because like everyone is so different, have self-belief. So I need to really like step in their world, try to understand why Tove is doing ski orienteering in winter, when I think she should be in Spain running, or this kind of things. So trying to learn the person. So that was, but I think it's the same for everyone. And when you change a job, you start from zero. When I start in Finland, starting again from zero to know the people. Lot of different stuff. Me, I feel what I want to, if I have 2 minutes tonight, what I'm a little bit tired of is like always this strong opposition between running and orienteering. I think it should not be seen as extremely. I think you can do both at the same time, and it's I was always trying to find situation where I could combine both, and it's why I think we should value very much sprint orienteering, because it's a way for the youngsters to develop physically and technically at the same time. So I think it's not so surprising. Matthias Keyboards is dominating both the sprint and the middle distance. I think my best years in middle distance were also when I was at my best in sprint, because I think it's combining well. When you have like all those routines in sprint and this very high speed, you can transfer it in forest. So me, I have always been one of those who were doing most orienteering, because I was enjoying it a lot. I have always got a big passion to be in forest with the map. So this is a reality, and I can feel if I take Emil Svensk, or I don't feel he's enjoying so much orienteering training. So he enjoy running fast. So we can see it on his way he's training, but still he's having good results. So me, different type of training. So I had my 10 days period where I always wanted to have at least one hill interval, some strength, some running technique, one middle distance at high speed, one sprint training. So I had a little bit this stuff. People can recognize it if they go to this training log. I think it was described quite well. Some small flexibility, of course. It's very important to find your training style as early as possible. What's working best for you? Some people has bigger talent physically, so maybe they should invest a little bit more on their technique. Sometimes it's the opposite. But during all your elite career, you need to put some new impulse here and there. So that's why maybe I said it a little bit too straightforward, but I think what's very trendy at this moment is those double threshold. Great. In 2-3 years, it will be something else. What I feel, the body is very good if you have a good base to react to something new, some small new impulse. For me, I could see really the difference in 2006, which were bringing maybe my best season in 2007. During the winter, once a week, I was doing some uphill intervals in asphalt, very focused on the running technique. And was it this alone or not alone? It was a new impulse, but I felt, wow, this it's really changing. I felt like much stronger body-wise, and could change speed, and I had this trying to, but also the power of mind. Like I felt like maybe it was coming at a good time and things like that, but something little bit new. After 1 or 2 years, this same training I felt was not bringing very much the same result. Most probably because my body has get used to it and was not reacting that well. So that's why it's more like for people above 25. You should not be too experimental, because it's what I said. You have a risk to lose a little bit the direction if you change training every 2-3 months. I think you need to know by then what's the base of your trainings. But some small new stuff. It can be some running techniques, some new stuff you find fun, some micro sprint. At some point, me, for example, in 2011, it was mostly for the preparation for a very challenging terrain in World Championships 2011. I couldn't find the same type of training terrains everywhere. It was in high altitude with those scarce terrains with quite much snow. So to still prepare technically, what I decided during the winter was to have one session. Most of the time I was using night orienteering as little bit basic navigation, so slow speed, and just and that winter, to prepare specifically for this World Championships, I had decided once per week to run one training at high speed at night. And it was fantastic, because technically I could improve a little bit my control. So always some new change along your career. This it's important, yeah. Yeah, so this it's important question, because once again I see I was showing this triangle of fitness, but it can be also another triangle with the mental, physical, and technical part. So the reality is, like, you can't be the best of the world if you don't put the same focus on those three parameters. So me, I have always put a lot of energy on the technical part, because it was very interesting for me. The physical part, my father was a coach in track and field, so and he was having triathlon as a background, so of course he was very focused on this. We had a full program with this. Right when I was 14, 15, we were using, at that time it was very different from nowadays, but we were using lactates and treadmill running test. So it has always been a focus on running. And the good things, if I compare to Scandinavia, it's like I was living in continental terrain. It's a little bit the same as you in Czech Republic. Me, I see it as a big chance compared to Scandinavia. In Scandinavia, if you run in the terrain, it's barely impossible to run under 4 minutes 30 per K. So it's a lot of power running. In continental terrain in Czech Republic, or where I grew up in France, in Saint-Étienne and in Pilar, lot of good runnings and hills. So this was making me, if I take the Scandinavian runners in hills, they are like, of course, I won't talk about Tove, but if I take in general, they are really weak in uphill running. So I was living close to those hills. So this, and we see it a little bit also with the Swiss runners, I think our terrains make us naturally strong physically. But still, there is some work to do to still have the abilities to compete. So me, it was based, I think, in my Finnish club. It was one guy, Simo Martoma. I don't think so many runners know this guy, who was always saying, yeah, I feel the physical part is so easy. You just need to put hours and you get somewhere, which is partly true. Me, I really felt after 10 years of professional trainings with volume. So we are talking about, once again, about good hours, more than 700 hours. Basically, you can run forever at the same speed. Especially, I could feel this in the long distance after 30. It was, you really had this strength to keep running. But I was, of course, putting a lot of focus on the physical part as well. Running technique, being athletics, twice per week, 3 times per week, some good running technique exercise. So me, I have never been seen as a strong runner. And of course, there were some people who were better than me, but I was not the last of the list. So I was closer from the top than from the bottom. Of course, otherwise I would not have been able to win those races. But I was creating situation where I was pushing my physics to the limits. So it means I was doing one of my favorite exercise was like intervals. I did, of course, more and more when I was in Scandinavia, because I didn't want to become so slow. So I was running a lot of interval with the first part on very good running surface. So maybe like 500 meters, 1 kilometers, very nice speed, and then 2-3 controls. So to have this change in speed, and it's something we recognize nowadays in international races. If we take what will maybe be the World of Four Course of the Years walk middle distance of this summer in Switzerland, it's a mix of very challenging and very easy part. So me, I was always trying to challenge myself also when I was doing technical trainings. One leg, very simple, 1 kilometers running on a trail, then 2-3 controls. So it was a little bit less boring than running on a track, but basically it was the same training. So this kind of stuff, but I have been not running any times on tracks. I did because I had 5 years in the army, so we had to do those cross-country running competition with other sports men, and I really not enjoy it, but I was taking part to it, and I think it was an important part of the process. So always, it's wrong when there is a too big focus in one of these 3 parameters: mental, physical, technical. I think you should be as much as possible in the middle. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much. and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you.